Hi, welcome to Plus TV Africa, and we thank you for joining us today as Muslims all over the world celebrate Eid al-Kabir. I'm Lape Banjo. And in Saudi Arabia, Muslim pilgrims threw stones at a giant wall in Mina on Wednesday in a symbolic stoning of the devil ritual. Just after sunrise on the second of the three-day ritual, thousands of pilgrims walked over the bridge towards the three large walls. More than 2.3 million pilgrims made the journey to Mina for Hajj, a religious duty once in a lifetime for every able-bodied Muslim who can afford the journey. It is the riskiest stage of the annual pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, and the country's monarchy has installed more than 100,000 security personnel to maintain order.
Alhamdulillah, Allah has to call each and everyone for the Hajj, the person who is happy. I'm really excited about this. This is the first time for me to the Hajj, and Alhamdulillah, I'm very happy for this.
رمي الجمرات ده حاجة كويسة إن إحنا يعني بنستعيذ من الشيطان علشان بعد كده يعني نبقى قوي كده ما نخافش من الشيطان، نعمل كل حاجة صح. يعني الشيطان بيقعد يوسوس كده في الواحد، يعني ده حاجة كده إن هو خلاص يبعد عننا ما يجيش تاني.
The Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Said Abubakar III, has urged politicians in the country to make sacrifice in ensuring the peace and unity of Nigeria. Sultan Abubakar gave the advice in his Eid al-Kabir message to Nigerians, which he delivered in Sokoto on Tuesday. He said politicians need to realize the importance of peace and unity of Nigeria and always consider such as the priority in governance. He called on all eligible voters to get their permanent voter cards. President Muhammadu Buhari has called on Nigerians to rise above personal, group, sectarian and other interests and unite. The president, who made the call in his Salah message to the nation on Monday, asked citizens to promote harmony and tolerance in dealing with one another at all times. President Buhari also urged all Muslims to use the Eid al-Kabir celebrations for sober reflection and self-examination, as well as strive to be good ambassadors of Islam by upholding high moral values. Senator Godswill Akpabio's media aide, Aniete Ekpong, wrote on Facebook on Tuesday night that some gunmen reportedly stormed the country home of the senator around 7:30 p.m. in Akwa Ibom State, where he was holding a political meeting. Mr. Ekong wrote on the social media site, ongoing sporadic shooting by unknown gunmen at Ukana Ikot Ntuen, Essien Udim local government area, the country home of former Senate Minority Leader Senator Godswill Akpabio. The divisional police officer, Essien Udim, and the Commissioner of Police of Akwa Ibom State should please urgently intervene. End of quote. The senator is safe, Mr. Ekong told pressmen on Wednesday morning. Former Inspector General of Nigerian Police, Mike Okiro, has said the directive of the presidency for the overhauling of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad was timely because the police unit had deviated from its founding principle. Okiro, while receiving an award of Peace-Loving Global Citizen on Tuesday from the Universal Peace Federation and Nigerian Women of Integrity in Abuja, said SARS operatives deviated from the reasons the unit was founded to get involved in mundane cases. He said, "We formed the Special Anti-Robbery Squad way back in 1991 when the notorious Shina Rambo was rampaging in Lagos and the whole of the Southwest, snatching cars, amongst others." What the presidency has done in this regard was in the right direction. The Special Anti-Robbery Squad should go back to the reasons why they were created. I advocated that they should not be scrapped. However, government should not succumb to the End SARS process because they have a role to play. End of quote. The Federal Capital Territory Police Command has been nabbed two murder suspects, Alfred Leonard and Samson Agbo, parading the suspects amongst several persons arrested for various crimes within the nation's capital. The police said one of the suspects was trailed to Kaduna and arrested after the family of the deceased reported his disappearance from the police commissioner of the FCT. He also warned residents to shun crime as it has deployed personnel to various hotspots around the city centre to curb criminality.
The command has recorded another milestone in its fight against crime with the arrest of one Alfred Leonard, 29 years, and Samson Agbo, 37 years, who conspired and murdered one Michael Ikohon. The deceased was initially reported missing by his family at Karu Division on the 17th of July 2018 at about 19:30 hours. However, following the circumstances surrounding his mysterious disappearance, one Alfred Leonard, who was last sighted with the deceased, was arrested at Kaduna.
Mine told me that on Sunday, that hour they have given, he would die. Let me see what I can do to kill him. I said, no, Mike, I cannot do anything with you. I have nothing to do with you because me, I'm a Jukumbai tribe. I cannot kill somebody. It is this man now, the Mike asked him to kneel down like this. Mike said that he should scratch him. I am the one that brought Mike.
Who brought him? This one?
This man was with me. We live in one.
Who invited him?
I am the one that invited him. We were together.
The Nigerian Air Force said on Tuesday that it had again bombed a training facility of the Boko Haram terrorists located in parts of Lake Chad. It said that scores of the insurgents were killed during the air interdiction. Air Force spokesman Commandant Ibikunle Daramola in a statement said the operations were carried out after intelligence platform had confirmed the presence of the terrorists in the area. He said, and I quote, "The airstrikes that Zanari were planned and executed based on intelligence reports indicating that the Boko Haram terrorists had established a training camp in the village and were converging in an area prior to departing for an attack on own troops, locations around the Lake Chad area," end of quote. We will take a quick break. Stay tuned for more news when we return. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Zimbabwe's Constitutional Court will on Wednesday hear an opposition petition seeking to overturn the presidential election result in a legal challenge seen as unlikely to succeed despite allegations of vote fraud. The Movement for Democratic Change has accused the ruling ZANU-PF party and the Election Commission of rigging the July 30th vote, Zimbabwe's first poll since the ousting of Robert Mugabe last year. Mugabe's successor, Emmerson Mnangagwa, won the 50.8% of the vote, just enough to avoid a runoff against the MDC's Nelson Chamisa, who scored 44.3%. Mnangagwa, who has vowed to turn around Zimbabwe's ruined economy, hoped the elections would draw a line under Mugabe's repressive 37-year rule. In South Sudan, a South Sudanese tribal body, the Nuer Supreme Council, has welcomed the resignation of the chairperson of the Joint Monitoring Evaluation Commission, Festus G. Mogae, reiterating claims he was not a neutral party. JMEC chairman was accused of failing to condemn the government violations of the ceasefire and attacks on civilians from the Nuer of the former First Vice President Riek Machar, after the violent clashes of July 2016 that plunged the country into civil war again. In a letter extended to the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, Chair Abiy Ahmed Ali, Mogae announced his resignation, saying he wanted to, quote, allow for the new phase of the transition period for South Sudan to be in fresh hands, end of quote. South Africa's Upper House of Parliament, the National Council of Provinces, on Tuesday approved the controversial National Minimum Wage Bill, which will be sent to the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, for assent. The bill aims to provide for a national minimum wage and the establishment of a commission with clear functions and composition for implementation, Parliament spokesperson Moloto Mathapo said. Once signed by Ramaphosa, the bill will become the law. The bill sets 3,500 rand, about $243 per month, or 20 rand per hour for over 6 million working people in the country. Trade unions have lambasted the national minimum wage as slavery wage, saying the working class cannot make both ends meet with the meagre national minimum wage. And when we return, we'll be bringing you updates, the legal battles being faced by former associates of President Trump and many more. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. And on the foreign scene, the United States National Security Advisor John Bolton said Russia is stuck in Syria and looking for support to fund post-war reconstruction there, describing this as an opportunity for Washington to press for Iranian forces to quit the country. John, speaking to Reuters while on a visit to Israel, said the United States' contacts with Russia did not include any understanding over a push by Damascus's forces against the rebels in Idlib. But he warned against any use of chemical or biological weapons there. Bolton sidestepped a question on whether these measures would continue, saying the US was staying in Syria to carry out some specific objectives.
Just to be clear, regime change in Iran is not American policy. But what we want is massive change in the regime's behavior. The consequences of the reduction in resources available to the regime, we think, is already manifest in some extent in constraints on the Quds force in Syria and Iraq, and perhaps also in its assistance to the Houthis in Yemen. And that's very important. We're going to do other things to put pressure on Iran as well, beyond economic sanctions.
US President Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, testified on Tuesday that Trump had directed him to commit a crime by arranging payments ahead of the 2016 presidential election to silence two women who said they had affairs with Trump. Cohen's voice cracked several times as he pleaded guilty to 8 criminal charges in the federal court in Manhattan, including tax evasion, bank fraud, and campaign finance violations. Facing up to 5 years in prison, the admissions were a dramatic change from Cohen's earlier boasts that he was Trump's fixer and would take a bullet for the president. Most legal experts say a sit-in president cannot be indicted for a crime, but the Constitution allows Congress to impeach and remove a president from office for high crimes and misdemeanors. Still on Trump, former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort was convicted on Tuesday of 8 counts of financial wrongdoing, giving special counsel Robert Mueller a victory in the first trial arising from his investigation of Russia's role in the 2016 US elections. After almost 4 days of deliberations, a 12-member jury found Manafort guilty on 2 counts of bank fraud, 5 counts of tax fraud, and 1 charge of failing to disclose foreign bank accounts. The jury in the US federal court in Alexandria, Virginia, said it could not reach a verdict on 10 of the 18 counts with which Manafort was charged. Judge T.S. Ellis declared a mistrial on those counts.
Paul Manafort's a good man. He was with Ronald Reagan. He was with a lot of different people over the years, and I feel very sad about that. It doesn't involve me, but I still feel, it's a very sad thing that happens. This has nothing to do with Russian collusion. This started as Russian collusion. This has absolutely nothing to do. This is a witch hunt, and it's a disgrace. But this has nothing to do what they started out, looking for Russians involved in our campaign. There were none. I feel very badly for Paul Manafort. Again, he worked for Bob Dole. He worked for Ronald Reagan. He worked for many, many people, and this is the way it ends up. And it was not the original mission, believe me. It was something very much different. So, had nothing to do with Russian collusion. We continue the witch hunt. Thank you very much.
At least 4 persons were reportedly killed after fire broke out at a residential tower in India's financial capital, Mumbai, on Wednesday. More than a dozen fire tenders were rushed to the spot to douse the fire, after which people residing in the tower were rescued using cranes. A short circuit in the building was reportedly said to be the cause of the fire. Chief Fire Officer P.S. Randhale said the fire was under control. And up next is our business reports. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back. And in business, updates on the oil market has shown that about 30 cargoes scheduled for deliveries in August and September are still awaiting to be sold. The cargoes still await buyers in the international market and may lead to an excess supply with the newly released October underlying supply. According to the update for cargoes, one of the cargoes traded at about dated plus $1.30, which was 10 cents above a bid from Vitol. However, Brent crude futures moved to $72.90 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate was up by 27 cents to trade at $66.11 per barrel. The flow of funds into the United States, exchange-traded funds tracking the Nigerian equity market, has continued to decline over the past 2 weeks. And that's according to a report from Bloomberg on the US-listed emerging markets. Equity flow declined by 80% to a loss of $1.8 million last week, compared to a loss of $1 million 2 weeks ago. The decline in equity flow occurred despite an increase in the total fund flow into Nigeria by 156.1%, and a fifth straight week of flow surplus in US ETFs tracking emerging markets. Vivian Alozier, an investment research analyst at Capital Bancorp PLC, says the decline is as a result of negative sentiments of investors due to the prevailing political uncertainty in Nigeria. Export of locally produced goods stood at 3.7 billion naira in the fourth quarter of 2017. The executive secretary of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Barrister Hassan Bello, said exports trades recorded zero rejection in the same year, despite increase in trade. He said the recorded value of the fourth quarter of 2017 grew by 19.35% over the third quarter of the same year, and 31.27% increases over same period in the previous year. And still ahead on Plus TV News is our roundup on entertainment and sports. We'll be back in a moment.
And in entertainment, online art gallery Artirama is currently hosting a solo art exhibition for Nigerian artist John Madu. The exhibition is titled Identity Tones and is holding at a pop-up gallery on Awolowo Road in Ikoyi. Madu contemplates the effect of globalization on African identity using collages, portraiture, figurative symbolism, and mixed media to bring it to life. The event, which will end on Friday the 24th of August, is free to all and sundry. Little Sophia posted a video of herself doing the Kiki challenge to Drake's big tune In My Feelings while awaiting a heart transplant and hooked to a hospital IV pump while dancing in the hallway of the Children's Hospital Lubri in Chicago. In a twist of fate, Drake, who is known for his big heart, gave her a big dose of heartfelt surprise when he showed up at her hospital room on Monday after Little Sophia, in another video she posted online, had invited her idol rapper to her birthday party. Singaporean author of Crazy Rich Asians, Kevin Kwan, has been declared wanted in Singapore for evading mandatory national service. If he is convicted, he could face up to 3 years in prison, including a heavy fine. Singapore's Defense Ministry has said in a statement that Kwan failed to register for national service in 1990, despite notices and letters sent to his overseas address. He also stayed overseas without a valid exit permit. The film's adaptation of his best-selling novel, which emphasizes the glamorous world of Singapore's super rich, was released in the United States last week, making $34 million worldwide with positive reviews. And that's it on entertainment. The very best in sports right after this.
And in sports, on the Forbes list, 8 tennis players make it as the top 10 highest earning female athletes, with 23-time Grand Slam champion Serena Williams topping it. And Serena Williams made $18 million through endorsements during the past year and earned just $62,000 from prize money, which was due to her 14-month break to have a baby. And her total earnings ensure she tops the list for the 3rd successive year. And she's making twice as much away from the tennis court as any other female athlete. In badminton's PV Sindhu and race car driver Danica Patrick are the known tennis players to make the top 10. And the Forbes rankings of the world's top 100 highest earning athletes is topped by US boxer Floyd Mayweather, followed by football's Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. And the list did not feature a woman in June after Williams dropped out of the charts due to her non-participation in tennis events. And still on tennis, Johanna Konta, the British #1, has pulled out of her 2nd round tie at the Connecticut Open as she is down with a viral illness. And this was earlier reported by the tournament organizers. And Konta was going to face Carla Suarez Navarro at New Haven in the final warm-up event before the US Open, which starts on the 27th of August. And Heather Watson, Harriet Dart, Gabrielle Taylor, and Cathy Swan are the other British women involved in the US Open qualifying this week. And in football, Nigerian striker Gbolahan Salami has sealed his transfer to Turkish First Football League side Denizlispor after putting pen to paper on a 1-year deal from Kazakhstan side Ertish Pavloda. And the 27-year-old was released from his contract with the Kazakhstan club, despite the fact that he only joined the club in January 2018. His transfer was confirmed by the Turkish club on Twitter. And Gbolahan Salami also represented Nigeria's under-20 and under-23 team before he made his debut for the senior side in 2014, where he scored 3 goals in 13 appearances for the 3-time African champions. And that's it on Sport Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko.
Thanks, Udoka. And that's our news roundup of events at this hour. For more news, follow us on Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories making the headlines. Do join us. I'm Lafay Banjo. Have yourself a great day.